Welcome back to Founders in the Field, the show where we go behind the scenes with agency leaders, consultants, and creative founders to show you how they're building, scaling, and staying sane in the trenches. I'm your host, Stephen Bradley, and today's guest is Dick Grove, who is the founder and chairman of Grove and Company and has been in the marketing and communications industry for over 30 years, working with brands such as Coca Cola, IBM, and Jack Daniels, just to name a few. He's been featured in Forbes, CNN, and PBS for his unique compensation approaches and as an industry disruptor. How are you doing, Dick?
I'm doing fine. Thank you very much for inviting me.
No, thank you so much for coming on and giving us your time today. Let's dive straight in. For the people who don't know your story, take us right back to the start of your journey and what made you start your own business, and give us an overview of what your role looks like today.
Well, if I take you all the way back, it's going to be quite a journey, Stefan. So I started my career in New York. I actually had never been to New York, but I pounded the pavement in New York as a graduate of University of Kansas in the journalism school. I'd been a beat reporter with the local newspaper, and my goal was to make a name for myself in public relations, or certainly in mass communications or strategic communications. And I was pounding the pavement. I was very lucky to land my first position with, at that time, probably the first or second largest PR firm in the world, having no idea that was the case when I first took the job, but I was very happy to do so. From there, I went to Chicago, eventually jumped over and went on the advertising side with a large advertising agency. But to make a long story short, it's been quite a journey for me. But I've worked over the years on both the advertising and public relations side, both on the agency side as well as on the client side. And it was, but from the very beginning, I have to admit that I really wanted to start my own operation. I had realized at a very young age that I was probably not going to work well within a corporate structure, but I wanted the knowledge that came and the experience and the large accounts that they worked with. I wanted that experience before I went out on my own. And so on various times by the way, and in the middle of all of this, I took a leave of absence, so to speak, and spent 5 years in the entertainment music business. So I started my own recording studio and talent management company. Had that for 5 years out in Sausalito in the Bay Area of California, and worked. And I found it was stimulating, fun, exciting, a very, very, very difficult business. But what I also discovered in the process of doing that was that in spite of the fact of being in the entertainment world and the music world, I kept sort of coming up with ideas that might help the corporate world by use of entertainment. And that's pretty much what we settled in. And I worked for Jack Daniel. I worked as Jack Daniels as a client for many years. Built them an touring entertainment act that enabled them to play on college campuses as well as to get on television, which was not heard of in those days because of what was called the Daly laws that prohibited distilled spirits from being promoted on the networks. But what really led me to the idea of a firm on my own was in dealing with clients over the years, as well as when I was a client, that many, many, many firms had what was called an hourly rate, and it was abused terribly, okay? And so what I thought was a good way to do it was, how do we get away from the hourly rate, and how do we produce for clients in the public relations field what they really want, which is media coverage, positive media coverage. And so I came up with some ideas, and I came across an idea that had already been started but not really built into anything effective, and that was called pay for performance public relations. And I pioneered that some now, oh my goodness, 34, 35 years ago. And with the idea being that why not develop a program where you share in the financial risk with the client, as opposed to charging them hourly fees for things that you never got. My idea was, let's charge for when we actually produce publicity that is measurable, and therefore we can put a dollar figure beside it and charge them after the fact, and only if we're successful in delivering that. It turned out to be a relatively good success, let me put it that way. I had that firm for almost 30 years. I recently sold that firm, and now I kind of thought I was going to retire, and then I started thinking about it, and I can't retire. So I really don't have anything. I don't have any of those wonderful things like golf or tennis or pickleball. What I do, I love to travel and I love to ride on my motorcycle, which I still do. But at the same time, I really missed the challenge of working with clients on their particular marketing or communications problems. So I started a new firm a few months ago called Grove and Company, and with the idea that over all the years I've been in this business, I've developed a lot of wonderful, wonderful contacts and resources that I can pick and choose to solve clients' problems, as opposed to having a large on-staff, at a high-rise building with 200 or 300 employees. I have a very small staff with the access to lots of great people out there in the country, including my own company that I sold. I actually still have access through the new company that bought it. So that's what I'm doing now, and I find it still to be a challenge. I love the idea of not having a boss per se, except for the client, which can be trying at times, by the way. But I'm used to that. But at least I know I'm doing the things that I want to do and the things I care about, and helping clients that I want to work with.
No, definitely. Dick, it's quite an extensive career that you've had in trying your hands at different things, from the being on the beat in New York to then having your own recording studio, recording business, to then sort of being on both sides of it has helped. Well, it seems like it's helped you a lot, because you see from the marketing agency sort of side, and then also being on the client side, you can relate on all fields, I would say. I
think that's one of the things I like to think that I have. I bring to anything as I near the end of my career, so to speak, is that I have built up a lot of really knowledge of how to get things done. I've seen let's put it this way, I'm a pretty good guide now, after having made this journey and gone down this path for so many clients for so many years. I have a pretty good idea where the potholes are, where the dangers are, and how to avoid those pitfalls if possible. So I like to think I bring that kind of gray-haired wisdom to the challenges that I deal with today, even under the new media. And let me tell you, the media, which is of course where PR finds its home in most mass communications, if you don't understand the media and how to work with the media, no matter whether it's social media or whether it's traditional media, whether it's broadcast, online, print, if you don't understand that side of it, you're not going to be able to do anything for a client, because the client's message is very good, may be very good, it may be very self-serving, but if it doesn't serve the purposes of the media, then the media is not going to carry it. And if they don't carry your message, then you're wasting your money. And that's something I've always prided myself on, being and surrounding myself with people that really, really understand the media. And a reason that I wrote a book, now it's about 2 or 3 years old, called It's the Media, Stupid, PR Without the BS. And the basic context of the media of that book is how you understand that it's what the media wants and needs, and how you fit your message within what their wants and needs are, and their rules, their ground rules. And the media has ground rules. So you can't, you may be a CEO that is earning 1,000 times what that reporter is earning, or what that podcaster is earning, or what that other people may be earning. But the point being is, you're still at their mercy. If you don't get what they want and able to deliver that in a manageable, positive way, it's not going to work for you. So that's pretty much where I feel I have the best of all worlds, is that knowledge, that experience, and plus, in all honesty, I've had a lot of fun along the way. I've met a lot of different people. One of the things that I've always pressed with whoever is working with me on a thing, including a client, is that that I like to make sure we're never taking ourselves too seriously. PR and mass communications, terribly, terribly important, don't get me wrong. I mean, they're the conduit of society. But at the same time, it's not brain surgery. It's not curing cancer. It's basically pushing a company's needs or wants, or a cause, which can be much, much more beneficial, by the way, and more satisfying in many ways when you're working on a particular cause. But nevertheless, it's still kind of a silly, fun thing to do. And you just can't take yourself too seriously in the process.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's an interesting outlook, because a lot of people could probably take a leaf out of your book with that outlook on this type of business and marketing, PR, advertising, because it's normal here. Some people it's very, very serious, very big, but as you just said then, in the grand scheme of things, it's not brain surgery. It can be. So would you say like your relaxed sort of outlook on it has benefited you a lot then?
Oh, I think so. I hope so. You have your ups and downs. You have your, don't get me wrong, on a career that spanned almost 50 years, I've had some very, very down periods. But if you have enough faith in yourself, if you have enough faith in humanity around you, and if you still have that sense of sense of humor, if you want to call it, that you can look around and see that basically we're doing things that, like I said, are not going to be life and death. God forbid. Now, there may be a few, but basically in the world of business and in the world of public relations and the world of mass communications, including advertising, by the way, which I've spent a good deal of time on, it's basically trying to get somebody to buy something, and that something either is terribly important, can be for their health, but it's also basically, it could be whimsical. But the idea is that it still, you have to keep. Let me put it this way: I had a saying that I still try to abide by. It was attributed originally to a famous movie actor, when a young actor came to him and said, "Give me some advice on how you've been so successful and how you've stayed so successful over the years." And he leaned down to the young man and said, "Take your job very seriously, but never yourself." And I always thought that was a very good piece of advice. The other piece of philosophy that I've tried to live by, in fact, it's above my desk even today, and has been for years, is a saying originally attributed to George Bernard Shaw, the playwright, the Irish playwright, and then used extensively by Bobby Kennedy, the original Bobby Kennedy, not the person that's pretending to be Bobby Kennedy today. And he had, as part of his campaign slogan, at the end of almost every speech, he said, some men see things as they are and say why. Other people see things that never were and say why not. And that should be the philosophy, and it is the philosophy, I think, of almost every successful entrepreneur, whether it be in the media, whether it be in business, whether it be in medicine. And so I love the idea of always approaching and finding clients that are willing to say, why not? Let's take that risk. It's only with risk that success ultimately comes.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's definitely some good pearls of wisdom there from them two things, 100%. So, Dick, what does your day-to-day look like, in Grove & Co. now?
Well, what it looks like is basically I reach out, I make sure that I'm in touch with the people. I'm based here in the Midwest, which is where I was originally born and raised, but then I spent time on both coasts for a long, long period of time. I happen to like it back here, mainly because it's centrally located. I can get to either coast or north or south rather quickly on an airplane if I need to. But I also like it because it's there's a nice level way of thinking back here, and I enjoy that being a little less stressful while I can create and think about what I'm going to be doing. So my day consists basically of being on the phone, being on the computer, talking to people, finding out what's going on. I've been very, very, very blessed in my life that many people that I've worked with over the years continue to remember what I've done with them and so forth. And so I still get emails and phone calls, but a good old-fashioned phone call now and then, saying, what are you up to? I think I need your help on something. I need some advice and counsel on something. Even when it comes to, I'm thinking about hiring a PR firm. Could you give me some thoughts on what I should be looking for? I'm thinking about going into a new business. I just sold my other business and I'm thinking about launching this business, Dick. You got some thoughts on that? I enjoy that more than anything. And so my day consists of fielding those calls, of making calls, of reaching out. I'm actually in the process now of starting my own podcast. And it's more of a fun podcast. It's not but it just happens to be something that I realized that a lot of people don't take people that hit 70 or 75 or, God forbid, 80, and no longer are they taken seriously for what they can contribute in terms of their field or whatever. So I've starting a podcast that we should be launching it right after the first of the year called Old People Rock. And what that's going to be, we're going to be interviewing what I call the rock stars of various fields. It could be music. God knows there's a lot of still rock stars rocking in their 80s in that field. Take the Stones, for example. But also in business, in medicine, in life overall, and in general. People that are doing what I call the rock stars in their field, that are still doing very cool things, and be able to share those with other people. One of the things I did some research on this and found that a lot of people that are in their 70s and so forth and 80s, they don't have anywhere to go. And they're still doing interesting things. And believe it or not, they're using their computers and they're on social media and they're listening to podcasts, but there's nowhere where they can go to get just interesting stories of their own peers, and not with heavy, we're not going to be preaching medicine and how to fix a bum knee or how not to fall in your 80s, that kind of stuff. It's going to be talking about the fun things, the memories, the good times, and what really people today are doing that is terribly interesting and fun, and maybe a lot of people don't realize that. And not only for their peers, but for the younger people as well. So it's kind of a fun project that I've started, and I think it's going to be fun. It seems to be, so far, it's been received very well with the people that I've brought it up to. So that's a project in addition to Grove and Company. But my Grove and Company day, as I said, is spent fielding phone calls. It's been fielding on the internet, talking, and making sure that and attending various kinds of seminars and meetings and so forth. So I still want to keep myself active and in tune, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. So would you say that most of your clients that you get now are inbound, sort of like referrals, people that you've worked with before, people that have recommended you, things like that?
Yeah, that's where it's coming from, yes, Stefan. It's people I've worked with before. It's people that have referenced me to other people. It may be a long-time client. Over the years, I had several clients that were literally what I'd call serial clients, because they would be successful with one company and then move to another company and call me again. And some of those people are still out there. But what they've done is they beget even younger people that are saying, they go to them, and I get somebody, whether it be a man or a woman, that says, well, give Grove a call, see what he has to say. Mm-hmm. And so that's been, it's a blessing, believe me, to have that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But that's where they're coming from, is those kind of ex-clients, as well as friends of friends in the business world and the entertainment world. So.
And you said sometimes you speak to people about new businesses that they've done. So is that business consulting in a way? And you said that's one of the most enjoyable things that you do.
I didn't quite understand that, but yeah,
So when you said one of the most enjoyable things is when people call you and they ask you about, I'm thinking about starting this business, and would that be like business consulting? Would you say?
Right. Yeah. What I try and do is, if I can answer what their needs are, I will do it. But more than likely, I will turn to my own resources. One of the things that I like to think made me relatively successful in my life and in my business world was that not ever thinking I'm the smartest person in the room, but understanding to surround yourself with really bright people. By the way, that's one of the things as both a founder as well as a CEO or a leader in general, is to make sure you're surrounding with people with actually maybe even smarter than you. What you do is, if you're a good leader or in that area, is that you surround yourself with good people. You have the smarts to understand and to listen to them, and then to compress it into a decision that takes lots of different viewpoints into mind before you make it. So I like to think that I'm doing that even today in terms of things, is that I listen to people. I know where to go if I need an answer. God bless, most of them are still around. A few people have said, no, Dick, I'm playing golf tomorrow. I don't want to think about that anymore. But most, you talk to somebody and they say, you know what, that's interesting. Let me do some digging on that. That's so cool. I mean, it really is at this point in your life to still feel stimulated by a new idea, a new thought, a new way of doing something. My God, that's exciting. It really is. And to me, that's what it's still all about. So I can't wait to hear from somebody new that's got something else going or whatever. And then being able to apply, Stefan, to be able to apply knowledge and solutions that maybe have been used for years, or maybe not used for years ago, but still can apply. You can pull it back and make it apply to what's going on today, adapt it, and make it work for somebody. And that's a great feeling.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. No, definitely. It sounds like you're still really enjoying your work, and really enjoying the new challenges and things that come about. So that's really good to hear. So, Dick, what is the biggest trends that you're seeing inside the market today?
The biggest thing going on in the market today?
Biggest trends.
Oh, the biggest trend, obviously. I mean, doesn't take much to figure that out. It's called AI. All right. Which I find fascinating because nobody really understands what it is. Okay, if you want to find out what AI is, go to chat box and say, "What are you?" and watch it type down all those little answers. But the biggest trend is AI. Trying to first understand it, then trying to figure out if it can help you in your particular endeavor, whether it be your business or whether it be your personal life, whatever it is. How can AI play a role? Because what's obvious, it's not going away, and we've got to understand it. We've got to understand how to work with it the best we possibly can. I find it part of what I find interesting about AI is not just artificial intelligence as an entity, but artificial intelligence as a business itself, and how all the big tech companies have raced to invest in AI. And even then, not knowing for sure what they're investing in, other than the fact, I got to invest because Charlie down the road is investing, and I've got to invest because then I'm going to be left behind. And the only real winners of that kind of thing, in the beginning, are the people that are building all those facilities down in North Carolina, where all that energy is being spent. It's like lawyers, the ones that make the money in any kind of situation are the lawyers. Well, the ones that are making the money, I go all the way back to thinking of a famous case where the gold rush in the 1849 and so forth, and everybody was racing to go out and capture the gold, and the company that was making the most money was a company making canvas pants called Levi Strauss. Okay. They ended up making more money than just about any of the prospectors who went racing out there. So I find it the same way right now with AI. It's the people that are building all those facilities. They're the ones that are making the money right now. But without a doubt, it's going to play a role. It's playing a role now. It's playing a role even with people not understanding it, knowing that they have to understand it, that they have to figure out how to work this. And I find it, I use AI myself in terms of, but very simple, very simple. But I find it to be it can be a help, not a crutch, but a help. And if you start substituting your own thinking, your own creativity, and using AI to do that for you, that's when you become in trouble, and that's when we will become in trouble as people. If we don't always think first in terms of how to make it help me, not replace me.
No, definitely. So would you say you're using it just like on a singular point, like throughout your business, or do you have it sort of embedded in different business operations, like automation, things like that?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I'm, in manufacturing, there's obviously ways to, all it basically, and I'm going to sound like a real dumb guy here right now because I'm not an expert in AI, but my understanding of what it is it's an incredible accumulation of everything that's ever been known about a particular subject. Okay? It's the collection of all that data, all that knowledge, and then being instantly able to spurn out an answer based on that knowledge. And that can be very valuable. It can be very valuable in a lot of different areas. It's great if you can streamline manufacturing, but at the same time, remember, every time there's an action, there's going to be a reaction. And that's what people have to be very careful with AI as it grows. All those jobs that are going to be eliminated and are being eliminated, what happens with those people? How do we re-educate them? How do we keep them employed? That's something that's absolutely has to be taken into consideration. But I do believe that AI fits probably initially it's going to fit more in manufacturing and in. I hope it doesn't get too heavy into marketing at this point in time, because that's where people still need to have that creative right brain or left brain side that says, here's a solution, let me think of a creative way, and then use that accumulated data knowledge of AI to either substantiate it or flesh out that idea, but the idea is still based in the human brain.
No, definitely. I feel like in the marketing, communications, advertising sort of areas, automation, pushing one idea through the pipeline, making things move more seamlessly, is where it's going to first be the most successful. So having things that run on autopilot, not so much the creation of things, but more like the operations can be really, really beneficial. And also like idea creation, like you said then, instead of it creating one, so normally you would create, so it's like for an ad, for example, you might have to create 10 different ads to run to find the winning one, whereas with you can leverage, it's all about leveraging leveraging AI with your own brain. So you could create one killer ad and then it can give you 10 variants in a matter of minutes, as opposed to spending time on creating variants that might, well, more than likely only 1 out of 10 of them will work. So for me it's more like it's a supercharger, it will an accelerator, it will a force multiplier, things like that, not a force creator, more a force multiplier. So you have the initial force and then it multiplies the outputs. That's what I would say.
Well, and the only thing I hate to see, I don't hate to see it because it's, progress is progress. But the idea that, I don't know, that it used to be 5 years ago, before AI, it used to be, I'll Google it and find out the answer, right? Prior to, if you went back 40 years, it would be, hey, I'll look that up. I'll look it up in a book somewhere. It may take me 2 or 3 hours or a week, but I'll find that damn answer for you. Then it became Google. I'll Google it, and now it's like I'll use AI. And the difference is that what I've seen is Google, you could still get basically one answer. With AI, you get a bunch of them. Take your pick.
It's how specific you are with the prompts as well. Like the more specific you get with what you ask it and the answers you want from it, the better it will be. Like to give you more specific answers. When you ask more generic questions, it doesn't have the background context to give you like what you exactly want.
Well, I just think it's. I just want to see it continue to be used as a helpful vehicle, not as a replacement, not as a crutch. As I've said before earlier when we were talking, that I still believe very much in the human mind and the ability to come up with a new idea. God, that's so exciting. Even if it's a new idea to make an old idea better, not necessarily brand new, but an old idea better. That's still where I'm so impressed by the people every day, whether they're young and I'm dealing with some now older people that are still coming up with new cool ideas. Years ago, I had a friend that when I was in the recording business, by the way, a friend that came to me one day and he said, "Are you making any money with this company, Grove?" And I said, "Well, give and take. You know, it's a tough business." And he said, "Then it's not a business; it's a hobby." He said, "A business is when you get somebody else to write you a check for what you're doing." You know, well, the checks aren't coming nearly as much as we'd like to in the entertainment business or on a consistent basis. But yeah, and I still get a kick out of people that have created a new way to get them to write them a check. I love hearing about it. And if AI helps in that, great. If AI stimulates the overall markets, by markets I mean the stock market and the investment market, that's great up to a point. And I do worry about that because I think there is part of a bubble right now going on with AI in the markets, that there is probably bound to be an adjustment. I don't know whether it's tomorrow or a year from now, but I think there is going to be an adjustment because anytime you see too many people racing to be a part of something that they don't quite understand, but think they're going to somehow make $1 billion by, you know, it's bound to blow up at some point in time. So that I'm a little concerned about what happens in the market when it comes to AI.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that the people that will, are the early adopters of it, the people that will have the most success is when you blend human intelligence with artificial intelligence. For example, if you have, specific things that you're really, really good at, like just say for your example that you've worked for 30 years in this one industry, you have a set of skills that are innate to this market. To be able to then put your brain basically into a machine and then be able to sell that on a mass scale, it's not running off its own intelligence, running off your intelligence, but then you can sell it en masse. You can only answer so many phone calls per day, for example. Whereas I'm not saying for you to do this, but I'm saying like this is like one way to look at it. If you can then basically download your data from your brain, your intelligence into this, and then you can white label that and sell that. It's almost like when people say, "Oh, if I could bottle it up, I'd be a millionaire." Well, now you kind of can. Do you know what I mean? In that sense, and then because, like I said, you can only answer so many phone calls. Whereas if you can put it into a machine and then sell the login to that machine, so someone just logs in, asks it questions, and is running off your intelligence, then that's like a great way of blending human intelligence and artificial intelligence. I
agree.
And you're kind of using it as a machine as opposed to thinking for you, because I agree with you. I think that's dangerous. I think that's going to dumb us down, type of thing. But
yeah,
we're actually indifferent.
Yeah, I agree. If you're going to save all of that time, then use that time you've saved productively. For God's sake, don't use it by by then somehow going out and smoking a cigar or something. Use it intelligently. To use to develop even further on your idea, and but AI as a time saving vehicle is one of the real great things about it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So let's switch gears a little bit and move off the AI. What is working well at Grove & Co, and where do you still feel slight friction?
Well, what's working, I guess, well at Grove & Company right now is the fact that, by the way, I don't know if you can hear that on the podcast, I've got a train going by. Forgive me. Life interrupts the podcast. No, what's working very well right now, I think, is the acceptance of the fact that I'm out here and that I, looking around and talking to people and so forth, that there is still a market for lack of, and this sounds a little too cocky, but there's still a market for wisdom out there. There's market for history and there's market for experience. And that's been very encouraging for me after all these years of. One of the things when you're running a company, meaning you're running a company with big staff and all of that, you're spending a lot of time on the administration of that company and not on the creativity that goes into why you started it in the first place. And so one of the really nice reliefs is when you're able to sell your company and walk away from it. In most cases, you don't walk away right away because most companies that buy you want to buy you at the same time. I was very fortunate because I had a gentleman that was working for me for almost 20 years who was well in a position to take what I had created and then run with it with another company that bought the company. So I could then step away. So what's going very well is that feeling of acceptance right now that there is still a need, there's still a desire, and there's still somebody who's willing to pay for that. Probably the tough part is in the beginning when you leave something, and particularly when you leave something after a long period of time, there is a certain separation anxiety. Of what do you do now? What do you do in the morning? You know, I don't have. You don't have that. I've got to be at work at 7:30, or I've got to be at work at 9 o'clock. Now you can say, I think I'll start my work at 10 or 10:30. You have to hold on to a certain amount of self-discipline when you start something. It's best I have a routine that I like to go through, whether I'm getting up and showering and getting ready and all of that. It sounds corny, but that's part of a routine you need to hold on to when you're starting something new, and you can find the time to still hold on to those things. So there's a certain amount of anxiety that comes when you're starting a new company. There's always that, but I think the good part is when you get reinforced with the idea that there is still a need and a desire for what you're offering in the way of your experience and your history. So, but I think it's still stimulating right now. I mean, it's still, I still get a kick out of it. I'm excited about what I can do with Grove and Company for as long as I feel like I want to do it, which is also different than when you're running a company. You feel like sometimes all those people are depending on you. So you can't make something where you say, you know, tomorrow I think I'm going to do something else. So when you're running a consulting company and working with people on a resource basis, you have more of a freedom to not feel obligated every day or frightened over not doing something because all those people are dependent on you that are working and getting their paycheck from you. I once had, my brother was a entrepreneur. At one point in time, he had an electrical supply company, and very low tech, but very high tech in its own way. But an electrical supply company supplying all those big hotels in Las Vegas and Reno with their electrical needs. And what he came to me one day and he said, you know, I'm getting ready to, I think I'm going to sell my company, or I'm going to have my partner buy me out. And I said, gee, why, Jack? And he said, I'm so tired of it. I said, you're successful. You got all those employees and you got all those companies that work. And he said, I'm so tired of having to make payroll every 2 weeks. And I can understand that when you're the man where the buck stops with you. Sometimes you do get tired of having to have that grave responsibility of all those people, no matter how talented they are, of that grave responsibility of making sure they're okay, that their families are okay, and understanding even that person that's working maybe a clerk somewhere, that person still has needs and a family and other people that are depending on them. And sometimes you have to carry that as a founder and as a CEO, and that can be a heavy burden at times. So.
No, definitely. You need broad shoulders to run a company like with lots of people and things like that. And I think you're right. It's a natural transition of what you're going through, because the more in 2025 and in the future, I feel like it'll be less people working for the businesses. Do you know what I mean? Because they can be done sort of at home with AI to help you out with this type of thing as well. So you don't need as many. You can run a business a lot leaner. That's the word I'm looking for. You can run a business a lot leaner and be more happy. Waking up when you choose to and things like that, and not having the responsibility of everything, like you just said. Of people's families. Where people's paychecks are coming from mortgages and things like that. I can imagine that it takes some broad shoulders to handle all that.
Yeah, and I let's put it this way: I shouldered it happily for a lot of years. And I wouldn't change anything. Believe me, I wouldn't change anything. But to have some of that part of that responsibility off your back, and be able to say, okay, what have I got? One of the assets I have at this point in my life is that one of those assets is that life, is that experience, is that 30 to 40 to 50 years of experience, and how can I use that now without having that extra strain of having 50 people, 100 people, 25 people working for you day to day, as opposed to being able to call on resources and be able to manage things on what I call a producer level. I often say what I do now is like a movie producer would be, where that you organize talented people. They're all independent contractors, but you organize very creative people, and you make sure that you've got them in an environment that they can produce. You give them an overall sense of direction, you give them an overall sense of vision, but it's them, as opposed to looking down the hall and realizing you got 50 people down this hall. And every day you got to somehow keep them working, and which is, believe me, I won't go into it, but that's one of the problems with traditional PR and advertising agencies, probably law firms as well, where you realize you've got to keep that hourly billing going constantly, as opposed to what kind of, I've got this group over here doing this great work, I've got this group over here doing this great work. And all I have to do is organize them and make sure the vision is there and make sure it's moving forward, because you still have a responsibility to the client, and but it's a different kind of sense to it than knowing I'm going to have to go chase that client to pay his bill, for God's example. So
definitely, it's almost like, in a dumbed down version, a middleman, do you know what I mean, where you're able to just have a broad outlook on the landscape and see, well, this will work for this client. I know that this person's doing great things over here, let's put these two together. So yeah, it's a very advantageous position to be in, I'd say.
Agreed. I absolutely agree.
So Dick, where do you want to be in the next 12 to 18 months in terms of business?
Well, I'd like to still be in business. How's that? That's the first goal, is that, and anytime you start something new, you'd like to think that it has a continuation beyond a couple of weeks. So I think where I'd like to be, from my standpoint, I'd like to be able to have 2 to 3 really good clients that are that I'm working with and helping them with their strategic marketing and their communications plans. I'd like to think that I'm going to be able to, but no more than that. I don't need more than 2 or 3. I'm not looking to get rich off of this next segment of my life. I'm looking to do something interesting and beneficial for those clients that need that kind of overseer wisdom and resources that I can bring to bear. And I'd like to think I still have some time in 12 to 18 months that I'm still knocking out a good motorcycle ride of a week or two every year. I'd like to think that I'm doing a couple of other interesting things, like perhaps the podcast I'm talking about. It might be a couple of other things that I'm looking into that are not what I'd call hobbies, but they are things that creative endeavors that I might become involved in and so forth. But from Grove and Company, I'm looking at probably 2 to 3 really pretty good clients, and knowing that we're serving them well and producing what they need in the way of strategic communications. And then having enough time to do a few of the other things I like doing on the side.
Perfect. No, I think you'll definitely achieve that, especially with after your extensive career. I think you'll 100% achieve that in the next 12 to 18 months, and you might even surpass that. Even if you don't want to, you might be turning down clients. I feel like Dick. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on and sharing, valuable insights throughout your career as well. Really appreciate it. Where can people sort of contact you if they wanted to, get your services, for example, things like that?
Sure. I've got a website called Grove. It's www.grove-co.com. grove-co.com. And the phone number's on there, but you can always reach me at my number is 816-210-6035, and my email address is as you would imagine, dgrove@grove-co.com. So I'm available here, and if I'm not on my motorcycle or doing something hopefully a little more creative, then I'm going to be right there, and I'd love to talk to you, or anybody have any questions, give me a call. And, in all honesty, Stefan, if somebody is a resource that I'm not familiar with, an agency or somebody that's doing some creative things and looking for possible clients. One of the things I did mention to you is one of the real markets that I still love going after and am in contact with are overseas markets. Our companies, entrepreneurs overseas, whether it be Israel, whether it be Vietnam, whether it be Britain, whether it be Brazil, companies that are looking to enter the U.S. market, entrepreneurial companies, and can't really afford the giant firms, but need help in terms of how do you do it, how do you break into the media, how do you get your products known in the United States when you're a small startup. I love those companies, so I'm still very hopeful for those kind of clients.
Yeah. So there you have it, everybody. If you are just joining us now, then this podcast was about Dick Grove's life in marketing, communications, and PR that spans over 30 years. So it's got tons of value in it, and also tons of business value, and also how he runs his new business now, Grove and Co. And also for small businesses, like you just said, he's the man to hit up for people entering the US market. But again, thank you so much for your time. Everybody, please like, comment, subscribe, and send to a friend if you think they'll be interested.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you,
I
sir.
appreciate it very much, Stefan. Thank you.
Not a problem. Thank you very much. See you later.
See you. Bye-bye.